Good afternoon from Vancouver International Airport. My name is Alex, and welcome to this trip report. Today, I'm here on Canada's west coast to fly with WestJet, on board their Boeing 737-600 to Calgary, Alberta. Now, just a few years ago, or even this time last year, this wouldn't be that noteworthy a flight. WestJet was the largest operator of this rare, shortened 737 variant, flying 13 aircraft of the 69 that were built. I say was cautiously, as most of those 13 are now stored in Arizona, and thanks to the 737-600's inherent inefficiencies, it doesn't seem terribly likely that they'll return to service. There's been no public confirmation from WestJet on that, but it seems like a reasonable assumption. I took this trip back in August of 2020, and I am hoping this wasn't my last WestJet 737-600 flight. And actually, just as I was about to post this video, I checked WestJet's website, and the 737-600 is gone from their 737NG page, which is, well, not a good sign. I'm also hoping YVR looks a little bit less deserted these days, but, given Canada's problematic handling of travel restrictions and the industry in general, I know that's not so likely either. In any case, today's 737-600 flight will be on board Charlie Golf Papa Whiskey Sierra, the first 600 model to be delivered to WestJet back in 2005. I've flown on these planes a couple times over the years, but as you might have guessed from the title and thumbnail, this particular 600 is pretty special. Although WestJet has made great progress in redoing their 737 cabins, as well as adding the larger premium seats up front, they only reconfigured a single 737-600, this one. When I saw this plane was operating my flight today, I paid the $60 upgrade price from economy to premium right away. Despite the very nature of my channel, I don't actually fly commercially as often as you'd think, so it was pretty lucky to get this plane out of all of WestJet's 737s. But I think you get the gist of why this is a pretty cool occasion. Let's go check out this reconfigured 737-600. My seat over to Calgary is 3F, in the last row of WestJet's premium cabin. As I've come to expect, the legroom in WestJet Premium is fantastic for someone with comically long legs like myself. 3F also has a very nice view of the number 2 engine and the noticeable lack of a winglet on these rare 737 models. If you're curious as to why that's the case, I made a video on that very topic just a few weeks ago. Settling into the seat, it's super wide and very comfortable. The headrests are all adjustable, and a very friendly cabin crew member came by to ask what I'd like to drink after takeoff. One of my favorite parts about WestJet's new 737 cabins is the very first row of economy behind premium. There's a ton of legroom in that row, and I think that's because these new seats are a bit larger than the previous Euro Business iteration of premium, so they've had to tweak the whole cabin as a result. I'll take a better look at those subtle changes around the cabin and the seat itself once we're in the air. For now, please enjoy the ever-impressive takeoff views out of Vancouver, departing runway 26 left. WestJet's route between Calgary and Vancouver is one of their busiest. This hour-long flight across the stunning Rocky Mountains covers a distance of just under 700 kilometers, connecting two of Western Canada's largest cities. Prior to, and I'm getting really tired of saying this, 2020, you'd often see up to a dozen WestJet flights a day in each direction. Right now, that's down to as little as 2 flights a day. Finally getting my first dose of the vaccine a few weeks ago should help improve that. WestJet's new premium seats have a large tablet holder built into the seat back, along with a pocket for the safety card and air sickness bag. The tray tables are found in the armrests and fold out nicely across the whole seat. In the middle is a large center armrest with a little platform for drinks and a storage pocket on the inside. In-seat power is readily available, with a USB port and universal power outlet. There is also the usual under-seat storage, but just based on the position of the rails, the window seats seem to have a little bit more space underneath. Shortly after departure, the cabin crew came around with drinks for everyone in premium, along with this surprisingly large snack box. Being that it was only August last year, and that most airlines were cutting costs, and arguably still are, this was really impressive for an hour-long flight. In the snack box was a cheese, spinach, and tomato croissant, Biscoffs, chocolate chip cookies, apple slices, mayonnaise and mustard packets, almonds, and a sanitary wipe. Again, it was really surprising to get so much on a shorter flight like this, and after the dumpster fire for air travel that was spring 2020, this was really nice. Now, for comparison's sake, WestJet's other 737-600s all have an older interior with live TV screens. Those seats do admittedly have more padding, and even though the live TV is super nostalgic for me from WestJet's earlier days, it's not quite up to the 2021 standard. Doing away with live TV may seem like a bit of a downgrade, but all of WestJet's 737-700s, 800s, Maxes, and of course this lone 600 have WestJet Connect with in-flight entertainment available on your mobile device instead. The usual TV shows and movies are all free to watch, plus flight information through the moving map and internet access for purchase. WestJet's new 737-600 layout seats 112 people in a 2-class configuration. Up front, as always, are 3 rows of premium in the typical 2-2 setup. The rest of the cabin seats 100 people in the usual 3-3 economy class layout. Now I suspect, because WestJet had to rejig the rest of the cabin to accommodate the larger premium seats, that leads to an interesting situation with the exit rows. There's a window seat missing on either side, giving 2 very lucky individuals in the row behind some wonderful legroom. Because the rest of the seats have moved back slightly, I also suspect the spaciousness of the lavatories have taken a hit, although I didn't visit them myself on this flight. Regardless, this was one of those flights that I could really appreciate, not just as a massive nerd who likes flying rare airplanes, but also as a massive nerd who likes following new developments when it comes to Canadian airline cabins. Pretty soon, the majestic peaks of the Rockies gave way to the rolling foothills of Alberta as we began our descent into a very green Calgary. We were also treated to some fantastic views of the city as we flew past the airport on the approach for runway 17 right. Well, that's another great flight with WestJet in the books. I definitely lucked out with this exact aircraft on this exact flight. I've been hoping to fly it ever since it got the new cabin back in 2019. The snack box and the service on board were both fantastic. Just for context, I filmed those earlier cabin shots after all the other passengers had left, with the permission of said friendly cabin crew, after they jokingly accused me of corporate espionage on behalf of Air Canada. All kidding aside, they knew this particular plane was pretty special too, and I'm really thankful they let me take up a couple extra minutes of their time as the last passenger to leave. Unfortunately, the fact that this is the only reconfigured 737-600, and that it's stayed that way for over 2 years, makes me think WestJet's not so keen on doing the rest of the fleet. So, this new cabin on Charlie Golf Papa Whiskey Sierra may end up just being a footnote in WestJet's history for the very few people who would care, but as one of those people, I'm very glad I got to fly on it. As always, thank you so much for watching this trip report. These trip report videos wouldn't be possible without your continued support, especially from my channel members. I'm hoping to keep doing many more of these as travel rebounds, so if you enjoyed this one, do stick around for more. Thanks again for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.